we think that we know a lot. There is a lot that we don't know.
That's true. Managing all these dynamics, plus the career, plus having so many companies from throughout these years, what is the secret behind that?
The secret is, and if you have the talent, if you have I think you can go a long way here. I meet a lot of my couples where I shot their wedding 15 years ago, and they look back at the photo and and that's what I felt this is my calling. Stage in life, there has to be an inspiration and there has to be something that's following the inspiration.
Can't connect your art with the emotions of the people, then is it really an art?
Yep, absolutely.
Welcome to today's episode of Hills Media Podcast, where we deep dive into the lives of young individuals who are extraordinary and they shape their world with their own desire in their eyes. And today we are thrilled to actually have with us Deepesh Agarwal, a person who actually captures some of the fleeting moments into timeless memories. Deepesh, it's really amazing to have you here. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling good. Thank you so much for having me over, Ajit.
Yes, it's such an amazing experience. I would straight ahead dive into this because, I'm always been excited about photography when it comes to especially in today's world, like how the trend and everything is going on. So I wanted to know, given that you have been in the industry for more than 2 decades, what brought you to this position, to this studio right now? What's the journey like?
The journey has been exciting. Nothing less than exciting, I would say. I started off as a wildlife photographer, maybe nature photographer, and then moved on to baby photography, family photography, getting into wedding photography now. So I felt there was the need for capturing emotions that was driving me closer and closer to my niche, to my genre, and that's been my journey in a nutshell. And when I maybe walk into a room or walk into any party, any wedding, I want to spread that happiness over, and that kind of reflects in the kind of work I do as well. So emotions are very, very important to me. I think especially with the whole AI and robotics going on right now, emotion I feel is slowly going to die out of this world.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yep. So just another way to preserve it.
Yeah, that's actually really amazing. When you think about what is photography in general, it's all about emotions, capturing those emotions in a certain way. Couldn't have put it very rightly. But how do you manage it while also giving mentorship to a lot of young inspiring photographers? Plus, being a family man yourself, I know you have a family as well. Managing all these dynamics, plus the career, plus having so many companies from throughout these years. What is the secret behind that?
The secret is you can't do it alone. You need to kind of identify your core team at every given step. I haven't done this alone, right? I may have a vision. I may have on a daily basis fulfilled that vision, but I could not do it without my mom, without my wife, without my aunt, without my kids. So if you plug them out of the equation, I would fall flat, right? So I would not say it's me who's done this all by myself. It's been a lot of collective effort, and luckily we shine because of a lot of people backstage. So that's pretty much how it is.
That's really amazing. Because I kind of see myself as well, because we both are immigrants here in America. At the age of 31, what made you, what actually, I want to get into that psychic in which, what you were thinking at that point that, okay, I think I have a really good career in America. I'm going to build something amazing. What vision were you seeing at that moment?
That's actually a good question. It's difficult. So, like I said, I've been always a people's person, right? So, at the age of 31, you've made your friends.
Yeah.
You've made your circle. To uproot all of that and move into an entire different country, it's not easy.
Yeah.
And I think that has by far been one of my biggest challenge of my life so far. What made me move over here? So I moved back to Mumbai in 2009 from completing my master's degree in London. Okay. And once I moved into Mumbai, I got a lot of success. We did a lot of weddings. We did a lot of good family photos, from the biggest of the biggest politicians to the biggest of the businessmen. But I always felt that the photography industry in India at that moment was, so I'll give you an example, Adit. Over here, when you go to a wedding, right, and you're working at a wedding, you're a professional, hired by the couple to do a job, right? Back in India, when you are walking into a wedding as a photographer, you are hired by the bride and groom to do a job. That's pretty much what it is, So the professionalism is plugged out completely
in India.
In India. I have hired you to do a job. I'm not saying trends are not changing. Things are definitely changing. But when I was back there, I always felt that we need a little more respect. We demand a little more respect with the kind of work that we are actually giving to you at the end of the day. And hey, don't get me wrong, 10 years down the line, this is all what you're going to see. This is all what's going to be with you. The understanding of that importance was not there.
Especially with the creative people, like they
with us, with us. And my wife being a physical therapist, she was considered as a masseuse, So I feel our industries were very widely respected in America. Right?
Yeah.
I came here in 2016.
There is no judgment as well in like how hard the judgment is in Indian society, contrary to that. Yeah.
I mean, there would be slight undercurrent judgment, I would say, especially us being immigrants.
Immigrants, yes.
It doesn't show in the day-to-day life though. It is there. But it doesn't harm us, It doesn't harm.
It's like a very
problem.
softly, it affects us, but it doesn't harm us in a sense.
Exactly. And if you have the talent, if you have the skill, and if you have the zeal to work hard, if you have that fire in your belly, I feel you can go a long way here, right? The same effort if I put 10 years back in India versus 10 years in the US, the growth scale would be far, it would be very different. So that's what I realized when I first moved here. Okay, and I thought, my mom told me, "Beta, teri kala tere haath mein hai. Tu jahan bhi jayega, koi farak nahi padta."
Excel karega.
Correct. So my question was कि यार मेरा business set है Mumbai में. Why should I move? Right. And I have, we were doing great. Our brand was very renowned back in India. So we were like, क्यों जाऊँ मैं? So then she said, "यार, don't think about your kids in the future. Think about,
what is coming right now."
And I would say this to a lot of young people as well. They would say, "We are settled. We don't want to move away from it." Right? When you don't move away from things, you don't know what you're missing out on.
When you don't go out of the comfort zone.
Yeah.
It's a good advice, guys.
Always I would say go out of the comfort zone. You never know what's in store for you. Right? So having said that, I took the plunge and hopefully it's working out.
It's working out really good. I mean, like, talking to you, hearing about all these stories, it's just like, especially when I was doing the research, I got to know that you even worked under Durat Nani, which is a very big photographer in north side of the India, and especially in Bollywood as well. And Mr. Deepesh was just working with him, building his own brand, and now look at him doing this. How was that experience like?
It was great. Dabu was, I would say, one of the pivots of my career.
I see.
I was very, very young. I was still in my first year bachelor's of mass media.
Oh.
So straight out of 12th grade. And I joined Dabu. I showed him some 5-10 pictures of, if I look at those pictures, I'll be like, wow, what's going on, right?
Really?
And we used to shoot on film those days. Digital was not even in existence. We used to shoot on 35mm film. Dabu used to shoot on Hasselblad. And from that stage, I worked with him for 4 years, right? The first day I walked in, we did a portfolio for any model. And I said, "Sir, what time should I come tomorrow?" He said, "Come tomorrow sharp at 9. I walked into the studio sharp at 9 and we're shooting John and Bipasha.
Whoa.
Right?
Like that.
Just like that.
Oh my God.
Just like that. A 12th grade pass student, right? And then from there on, it was no end. We worked with everybody from, I would say, from anybody to Amitabh Bachchan, and regularly. On a regular basis. I shot 4 calendars with him.
Wow.
right? His calendars are iconic.
Yeah, they're always like
They're
for the
always
trademarks.
iconic, right? So, it was a great experience. We shot a lot of campaigns, a lot of movies together. So always on the sets with him. Great learning experience. Very good learning experience. And I can use all of that knowledge till date today.
Till date
And
today.
it's still
That
very
is always
reliable.
one thing. Like if there is one thing that you learn from a very basic, like, in a very foundational phases of your
Correct.
life, that always sticks with you. If
Absolutely.
it's something that works. On thought of that, I have seen that you have such an excellent career for a very long time. But
Thank you. I
still
wanted-
have to have like some of the recognition when it comes to, as in like say some award recognitions when it comes to that. Is that something that bothers you, or do you think that this awards or like any sorts of the prizes, something they kind of hinder the process of like the creative freedom when a photographer do that, like it hinders with the art that they are trying to create? What do you think about that?
I don't think so. I mean, I'll be honest with you. It is my laziness and it is my hunger that comes in between me even applying for these
He's
awards.
being modest. He's actually a very hard worker.
No, yeah. So I mean, So my hunger, I'll explain that. So my hunger is towards my hardworking skills, right? I love to work hard.
Yeah.
It is one of my weaknesses. Okay. And I'm just lazy to submit a picture to an award, submissions. I may have all of these submissions. I may have all of these subscriptions where I can submit my work, but I'm so swamped with just delivering
So much work.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, GT here. You're a bride and groom, okay, and you text me 10 good things about Deepesh. This is the best ever thing possible. That's my award.
That's
right?
the thing.
And that's all I work for. Honestly, till day, I get teary eyes when I listen to a dad giving a speech about his daughter as a bride.
And you're able to capture that.
That's it. So I'm so emotionally and physically vested in this job that it doesn't bother me. But if you say marketing wise, business wise, it always helps.
It always helps.
It always helps. Hey, you have 10 awards, 10 Fearless awards, or whatever awards under your belt. You can now charge $15,000 for your same job where you're charging $5,000. Agreed. But I can still give happiness to 5 more families. Right here, so that's
sometimes some things in life are more important than the other ones.
My trade is that,
So are we expecting some future award-winning pictures that you're working on, perhaps in secret?
I'm thinking on those lines. I'm thinking of slowing down personally. Okay. I'm thinking of, obviously, when I slow down, to give my artistic flair a little more importance. Okay. I think with the whole hustle and with the whole running around. Look, I moved here in 2016, right? So
2016, wow. That's a long time.
By the time I could get my feet into the industry, it was COVID.
Yeah.
Right. 2021, I would say the company actually kick-started to work. And we're in 24 right now. So I feel now the brand is a lot more settled. Right?
Compared to like that
Compared
time.
to before. And I'm almost 40 now. So, so I'm thinking now, maybe this is the time I should just slow down a little bit and
focus on myself.
Focus on myself. Focus on my art. And that's where I'm at right now.
So, since you brought up COVID, how much has, in your experience, provided that you were an immigrant here as well, how much has the world of America basically changed pre-COVID and post-COVID? Because you have seen both of the eras and also actually run the business. I don't know how he does it, but he did it in the COVID times. What was that experience like?
So one thing I learned, okay, and I'll go a little philosophical over here.
All for it?
Yeah. So even in 2020, we shot a couple of weddings, right? Just a handful, but they were intimate weddings, right? Bride, groom, officiant, me.
Wow, that's
right?
it?
Love exists. That's what I learned. It was in someone's balcony. It was in someone's backyard.
Wow.
It was just 4 of us. And I think the shift towards weddings have not decreased. It has only increased, right? So the industry has a great future, right? But I also feel that the importance, what people started to feel that, hey, I don't need to have 300, 400 people at my wedding anymore. right? Something like a live streaming service became big time now, prevalent, that now people who cannot make it, it's fine. They cannot make it. They can see my wedding on YouTube. Online, right? So we had some...
Your art is still there.
Art is still there.
Art is still there, yeah.
Industry tweaks were there, but art is still there.
That is really amazing. Now that we are talking about the wedding photography, I would actually like to know about let's say when you're going to a wedding set, let's call it a wedding set, even though it's a wedding. So when you go to the wedding set, like what is the first thing in your process? Like how do you streamline yourself? Like this is my objectives, or like this is what I have to tackle first. Let's say, for example, like if I wanted to put in my head, like, there is always an emotional chaos going on in the weddings, right? So many emotions of different kinds, sadness, happiness, all to combine together. How do you maintain your undivided focus and attention towards just creatively capturing the moment? What is your process on that?
Good question. I would say I would scout out the location first. Okay. I would first understand. So before we even get into the wedding, we have a very clear brief from the bride and groom. We know what they want, or we have had these consultation calls. It's not just performing on the day of, right? For many people, they would think that it's the day of performance. The day of performance is the easiest job. It's the pre and the post that's the actual work. So when you are actually, like you said, the set, right? Working on the set is easy. To get the set up and running,
that's
and to edit and deliver, that's the work. Right?
Yep.
So when I walk into a wedding set, like you said, my first and foremost goal would be to make sure that the bride and groom are having a great time, because it is their big day.
Yeah.
It could be our wedding set, but it's their wedding day, right? So for the most important part is they are comfortable, they are feeling it, they are loving it, right? And based on how they feel and the brief they have given me in the past, what's the middle ground I can draw, right? And that's when I start to create things, right? They would give me a laundry list of creating things, but hey, you give me only 30 minutes, it's not possible. So then you can pick and choose what your personalities are, what your likes and dislikes are, and based on that, I would kind of tweak my approach.
Oh, that's really a good approach for all the young people who are like, wanted to become the photographers, try to learn it. That's the best advice you can get, actually. So, sorry, I was like too much lost in the conversation.
Yeah.
So thinking about like, if every photographer has its own style, right? Everyone who will capture you can identify like, okay, this shot might have been taken in a certain sense by this photographer, that photographer. And of course, you have a style of your own. Throughout your experience that has been in the industry, has it ever changed or evolved into something, or like has always been throughout?
My style?
Yes.
I think my style has always been evolving. At least that's what my effort is, right? And it's a very conscious effort. I consciously keep looking back at my work, my personal work, I would say. And I would want ways to keep improving that. And it has come a lot from my learning as a kid. I was always inspired by bigger photographers, better work. And even when Dabbu used to shoot, I used to see his ways of doing things and how other photographers are doing the same ad campaigns, right? So being inspired is one of the biggest things in me personally, right? And I would say I try to evolve with every wedding. Not just every year, every wedding, I want to do something different. Also keeping in mind what the periphery of the bride and groom are. It's their day. Like we cannot forget what their day is, right?
Yeah.
If someone does not want a very Vogue editorial style kind of shot,
then
you cannot just push it onto them, right? Yeah. So that's what I would want to respect a lot, and that's my process pretty much in a nutshell.
So you've worked in US for like more than 10 years, 20 years, right? 10 years.
8 years, I would say.
8 years.
Yeah.
And US has been like known for, especially like we come from a background in which like we are very much rooted in that traditional style of weddings in a certain sense. And in America, there is always like, very culturally diverse kind of weddings. What are some of your experiences which like, which you find very unique, or like something that was very memorable for you, that, oh, this is something very different that I learned today. And, that's how I also have to curate my photography style according to that tradition. Have you encountered any of these instances like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I've encountered over here, besides shooting anywhere else in the world, is that culturally US is very diverse. Correct. And weddings over here, because of the freedom, just the fundamental of America, the freedom of people,
Yeah.
right? It brings a lot of different cultures together. Correct. So I shot an Indian and an Ethiopian wedding.
Oh,
Right.
unique.
And it is very unique and one of the best works we have done. Right. It was just a very small crew. It was me and another videographer. One photographer, one videographer, 2 days.
That's it?
That's it.
Wow.
That's it. And I finished my last wedding of the year yesterday. And someone met me at that wedding and said, hey, were you at that wedding that you shot? And I'm like, yes. So people still remember that, right? So culturally, I would say this is the best experience I've had, right? And it always keeps changing, and it's best. And that's what I tell my bride and groom as well. Look, every wedding is different. So we don't have like a set style. We don't have like a set template. We are not a factory over here.
Yeah.
We would want to feel your culture. We would want to feel your perspectives and then deliver accordingly.
Like shape our own creatives according to that.
Absolutely. And that's when you're creative, right? If you cannot move away from what you're doing, then you become a machine.
Yeah.
If you can actually do different things, then you are creative, right?
That's when the creativeness actually booms during that point.
Absolutely.
If you don't give the creative that kind of a liberty or freedom, then it's just going to be constrained in one environment. Absolutely good point for the viewers, I guess. All right, we'll move on to the next topic of this. When you were actually doing all these shoots here, right? Because in India, of course, like we always have all of our groups and people backing us in different environment. When we are abroad, it's like we are completely alone in a sense. We do have supports in those matters too. But when you were shooting here for the clients, of course, you must have encountered some of the very difficult clients as well. What advice would you give to young photographers or anybody who gets into the altercation with like the guest or something where there's like some creative differences happening or client is not happy, or like how do you tackle those situations?
So my advice to young photographers, is that what it is?
Yes.
About handling different kind of clients.
Yes.
Correct. I would say always listen first. Listen to what they need, because you're there to fulfill what they want at the end of the day. Correct. One thing Victor Lax told me, Victor Lax, one of the biggest wedding photographers, you do 2 for them and 1 for yourself. You do 2 for them and 1 for yourself.
That's a really good advice.
Correct.
Yes.
So I follow that advice ever since I've joined his workshop. Do 2 for them, 1 for yourself. This way they are happy, you're happy.
You're happy.
Easy peasy. That's pretty much it. And if there is a sticky situation, look, some clients are really demanding. If there is a sticky situation like that, I would say just pass it on with a smile. Nobody can keep screaming at a smiling face.
Yeah,
so just keep a smiling face and be happy.
And Deepesh really has that, hasmukh chehra. That's what we say. Like, he's always smiling in that sense. So, journey of the weddings, I would actually want to dive into your brand and what kind of an impact it has made. So my question is like Weddings by Shooting Stars. First of all, who came up with the name? It's already so amazing. Like when I was saying it, I was like, Weddings by Shooting Stars. Yeah, that has a really nice ring to it.
So Shooting Stars, ironically, back in India, it was me and my friend Jasveer Singh. We both were sitting together and, I told him that we want to be someone where the bride and groom are actually wishing something and we make that wish
come true.
Come true. Correct. So Vishal Punjabi came up with a video, and the song of the video was the Shooting Stars Coldplay. Right.
I see.
That we were just doing our research. We were doing our research of how other photographers, videographers are doing work, and that video got stuck in our head. Right. And that night, when I'm talking to Jasveer, I'm like, hey, we wanna come up with a name where couples could we could make their wish come true, right? And then he said, why not Shooting Stars? And I'm like, that's perfect. That's perfect because we are shooting the stars. Okay, that could be one way of looking at it.
And also weddings by shooting stars.
By
right?
shooting stars. So we could also
works
be
both ways.
exactly. And the third would be like, the couples are just looking up at us and just wishing for that wish to come true. So we were like, this is perfect. It's like a full circle. Let's go with this. And that's how we came with the name Shooting Stars. When I moved to the country over here, I realized that Shooting Stars was in clash with another company, so we named it as Weddings by Shooting Stars.
It works for you guys. I mean, like, whoever that company is, I mean, like, good success for you guys.
Yeah.
No, not really. But were you ever encountered, like, when you were imagining like a company? The reason why I'm kind of trying to get into this is like, because, so many people get ideas about doing something, but very rare and very few individuals kind of implement it and build the business on it. So when you were thinking about, establishing a company with the name as Wedding by Shooting Stars, have you ever felt doubt that, you might not be able to pull this off, or like, maybe I put a wrong investment, or maybe I shouldn't be doing this? Was that a thought?
Never had a doubt on building a company. I come from a business background, right? My dad, my family, we're all business owners. Someone's in construction, someone is in real estate, someone is in, food business. So we are all in, like, we are Baniyas, we are Agarwals, right?
Agarwals.
So, yeah, I've never had with God's grace, I never had the opportunity to make a CV or a resume.
Oh.
Right. So business was never a problem. The problem was whether or not I'll be able to pull it off or not. So back in those days, early 2000s, you're a kid, you want to be a photographer, you come from a construction background, families earning crores, and they're like, tu photo khichega? Right? Tu pagal to nahi ho gaya, tu photo khichega?
That strong judgment.
Correct?
Yes.
And then you'll be like, but I love to capture that smile.
Especially from a Baniya family. Like, they always put you that position.
Correct.
Ye karna?
Ye karega. So I'm like, So I swore upon myself that I would take a minimum help from my family and just hustle until I make it. And most of this is hustle. A lot of support, emotional,
everything by yourself. Nothing.
No, I'm saying a lot of emotional support, a lot of
was there
backing, a lot of confidence are there by a handful of people from my family. Yes. Yeah. But as far as finances are concerned, I would say majority of them was my hustling. Yeah. So I didn't take it for granted that there is money, but I knew for a fact that in case it would fail,
then I still
have a cushion to fall back on. I would not lie. I had that thing in mind. So I was like, why not give it my 100% and prove the world that I can do it,
sometimes I think like that is what necessary is, like to have a strong backing so that you can put yourself completely out there and then, explore. Some people might think that, some people have the luxuries of doing these things. No, it's just that we can do it.
Yeah, more than that, Ajit, I would like to differ over here. More than a strong backing, I think you need a strong cause. So the strong backing for me was not a great advantage. It worked as ki tu photographer banega.
To prove them wrong.
Correct.
In a sense. Yeah.
It came as a fire to prove them wrong. कि मैं अब photographer ही बनूंगा.
अब तो ये इसमें बन के बताता हूँ
हाँ, तो that is, it depends on how you channelize things. We all get criticized upon doing things.
Exactly.
We all get
more than the parents, relatives.
I mean, everybody. Even friends, we get clients, whatever. We get criticized at times. We get a lot of best wishes as well. We get a lot of praises. You take those praises to your head,
it's all over.
Downfall. You take the criticism to your heart, downfall. It is very important for us to channelize our feedbacks and use it to our advantage and see where it takes us to our advantage. That's what is important, I feel.
So if there are certain thoughts which kind of like, if let's say somebody didn't like your work, sometimes like, people can be very absurd and
Absolutely.
obtuse as well. So if you hear these things about yourself that, from somebody else or somebody that they're trying to purposely demean you, that, no, they're not that good, or, oh, this was not that good. How do you take these feedbacks?
I mean, if they make sense, I would definitely want to improve, right? And if I get a feeling that it's just trying to demean, just to lowball it, I won't pay much attention to it. I mean, I listen to it. I won't cut them. I won't fight, but I won't pay much attention to it, because what's the point of harming your own mental peace here? Yeah. But if they make sense, I would definitely take that criticism and try to improve myself.
That is how I think like every photographer should approach criticism, right? Like if it makes sense, go for it. If it doesn't, just cut it out.
Always be a good listener.
Good listener.
Always be a good listener, because we think that we know a lot. And there is a lot that we don't know.
That's true. That's true. A lot of people kind of have this thing built up in a very young age. Speaking of which, where do you see your company like next 5 years? What visions are you seeing? Are you also thinking about expanding it into a certain more creative field? Let's say other than photography, like some other events or something like that, given that you have such a good experience in all these things?
I would say 5 years from now, I would want to be in a position where I can selectively shoot some weddings that really resonate with me. And the brand runs smoothly.
Automation.
Or not automation, it is still human.
It's still human.
But it doesn't require my human involvement to the extent that I'm doing right now.
I see.
It still believes in capturing happiness and spreading love and happiness. I don't imagine this to be multi-folds, $1 billion or $1 million company or whatever, but I do want to open up a couple of branches in different cities where I think there is a lot of potential. And just at that, if we are right now in Jersey, I would want to open one probably somewhere in Texas, somewhere else. So have multiple branches, make sure everybody is doing great work. All the clients that we have in a year are all happy with us. And I get to not pick and choose, I get to kind of shoot less, spend more time with family. That's where I see myself.
I think that's what every man's dream is, to
actually, right? Yeah.
Make a lot of money and then just spend time with the family.
I don't agree if I've made a lot of money, but spend time with family is what
for sure soon. I mean, soon.
Hopefully, God's grace, yeah.
That also brings me up to another point is do you think, in your opinion, some people might say that photography or photographers are heavily commercialized in a sense, given too much attention than they are supposed to. What's your take on that?
Is it? I doubt it.
There were certain articles and some people I know some of them are doesn't maybe less in artistry or whatever, but there is a whole noise about that too, that, we for example, in India as well, if you talk to some of the people from a very remote areas, they would be like, हमारे चाचा ताया कर लेंगे photography, उसमें क्या है? So बुलाने की क्या जरूरत है? Why do you think that should actually change? And what message would you give to them?
I think the world is changing very fast. People do identify us as important people. Everything you do right now, if you're sitting on your phone, you are looking at a picture.
True.
Right? You're buying clothing from Amazon, you're looking at a picture. Nothing that you touch, feel, see has gone through a photo process.
Yeah.
Has not gone through
a
photo process, right? Yeah. So that's how important photography is to us. There is no way we can negate it, right? And people who are actually lowballing it and negating it, they would realize it themselves. I don't need to give them any kind of lesson, but we cannot run away from it. There's no running away from how important imagery is to human life. Because we visualize things. When we visualize, we bring it to image.
Yeah.
Right? Even in the Stone Age, during our evolution, people used to draw imagery on the rocks.
Yes, and our culture is rich with that.
Exactly. So imagery cannot go out of fashion. It is always going to be there. Whether it is painting or photography, it has to be there.
It has to always be there. Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, thinking about that also brings me up. I'm just brainstorming right now. I'm thinking about Has Instagram and any social media platforms have they helped you in a certain sense? Is that something like, it helps the photographer, or is it something like, it's kind of like a curse and it makes you work even more harder because there are so many apps that can actually alter the photo in a sense. AI can do certain things. Has that made your profession more harder or easier?
So first things first, anything that's making me work harder is not a curse to me.
Oh,
Okay.
I see.
I like that. Okay. Secondly, I feel, look, evolvement and change is the only constant thing, right? So days when Instagram was not there were images on Pinterest. There were days when Pinterest was not there were images on Getty Images, right? When Getty Images was not there, we used to, I remember in the days where I used to work with Dabu, we used to have mood boards printed out.
Wow.
Before walking into a shoot. We had a mood board. So we had a shot by shot what the next shot is going to look like.
Can you tell us more about that process?
On a piece of paper. Yeah. So it's just, what I'm trying to get to you is, at every stage in life, there has to be an inspiration and there has to be something that's following the inspiration. So we are, in this day and age, we are following the inspiration that's coming from Instagram. And because information has become so widely available and easily available, which is for a very great thing, I believe that truly, it's more that everybody has that information and everybody is aware. So I like it for two reasons. One, it's a great marketing tool for us.
Yeah.
And two, when a bride and groom come to you and say, hey, this is what I want.
So you can show them that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
If you know what you want, I'm more than happy to deliver what you want. But you show me an image from Lake Como and you're getting married in New Jersey. I'm like, bro, we need to dial that thing down.
That's something we can't do. VFX maybe more charge.
Yeah, there you go. You fly us to Lake Como? Yes, you can do it.
Yeah, that is very interesting. So, as a father, do you think that probably some of your talents as a photographer or like your creative visions would you want your children to actually inherit them, or like are you thinking about that, I'm gonna train them in photography at a certain age, or like, introduce the world of photography after a certain age or something? So is that how are you going through that process, actually being a father and then like, passing down your legacy in a sense?
So there's no legacy, firstly. All right, thank you for saying that, but I don't believe there is any kind of legacy. But my daughter,
he's wrong, there is a legacy.
My daughter, she loves to take pictures, and she's pretty good at it.
Oh,
okay. So she's just 6 years old. I believe she's good at it. She got a good eye.
I'm gonna see it after this shoot.
I can show you some on my phone. Yeah, absolutely. So, but there's nothing that I want to pass on. I'm not Tendulkar here, so this is not like I'm not passing on anything. I'll expose them to whatever they like, and then they are up to pick and choose whatever they want.
Whatever they want to have the career. So, Deepesh bhai, have you traveled?
Yeah, traveled a lot. One of my, I would say, second passion after photography is travel.
When did this travel journey actually begin?
Began at a very young age. I would say really began after I left Tabu. Joined, I went to London to do my master's in 2006. I was there in London from 2006 to 2009, 3 years.
Okay.
Within those 3 years, I found that was my biggest opportunity if I want to see the world. My aim was, when I come back to India, I have to set up my own company, do all of that stuff. It was very, very clear. So I joined as a photographer at this cruise ship.
Okay.
I was one of the photographers at the cruise ship, and within a span of 10 months of my tenure with the cruise ship, I traveled almost 30 plus countries.
Wow.
Yeah. Just then and there, we just lived on the ship, traveled all over from countries you won't even imagine, like Estonia.
Like literally backpacking kind of.
I mean, you were on the ship as a photographer, right? And I learned a lot of great things there, because just a small example, as a photographer, think about this, okay? You are it's night time, it's sunset time. You have a beautiful sunset in the back. You're on the ship, okay?
Wow.
Wide sea, beautiful sunset on behind you. But you have to make sure that the faces of the subject are properly lit, okay? And there is no bounce.
Natural light only.
No, though you have to use a flash, and you have to hit the flash on their face. So there is direct flash. So there's so much of lighting techniques that I learned, which I did not learn in Dabu. That
Just
I learned
with experimenting and
just with experimenting on the ships.
Wow.
And then, so that was one big inspiration for me, you know, from a lighting perspective, from a technical perspective, but more from a psychological or a sociological perspective. I felt the reason why I got into weddings mainly, or people photography or human photography, is I strongly believed that, yeah, no matter what culture it is, no matter what language they spoke, okay, they cry, you understand they're sad.
Yeah.
They laugh, you understand you're happy. The emotion, the language of emotion is the same across all cultures. And I felt, wow, this is what I want to capture. This is what I want to leave as a time capsule. You know, that today I meet a lot of my couples where I shot their wedding 15 years ago.
Oh.
And they look back at the photo and they're happy, smiling. Their kids look at their photos now. It is a time capsule that I've given them that they can look back, you know, and that's beautiful. And that's what I felt key. This is my calling. Yeah.
It's such a beautiful message. I mean, like, you know, if you can't connect your art with the emotions of a people, then is it really an art?
Yep, absolutely.
How do you think like travel is like, you know, how important it holds in a life of a photographer? Like, how much value does it hold in your opinion?
I feel it holds a great value, because travel makes you evolve.
Mm-hmm.
Travel makes you change your perspective. It makes you see things differently, right? It just makes you believe that what you have learned and understood is not the only way of doing things. Right? So I feel perspectives are very, very important in a photographer's life, or any visual artist's life. And travel makes you keep changing that perspective. It makes you keep you know, exploring those perspectives. It makes you see things differently, experience things differently, and that kind of shows in your creativity.
I see. Also, when you're traveling to a different country, let's say, like, you know, there's a different environment and everything, how do you decide that, you know, this is such a good moment, let me just take out my camera and capture this shot? Like, what goes in your brain at that particular time?
Anything that I want to preserve, I would take a photo of that.
Anything that you want to
Anything that I want to preserve.
Any special places that you really, really like, that if you look back into your travel history, and if you see that, okay, this was the place which was very beautiful, and like I would like to visit.
Yeah, one of my highlights for the trip was Norway. I feel it's now, of course, it is greatly traveled, but Norway and Croatia. Dubrovnik, you know, there was no, what is that series?
Is that the same place where that fan movie was shot?
Not, I don't know about the fan movie. That famous...
that artist, I think, like you're mentioning that.
What's that series, yaar? Apna famous.
Dubrovnik, mein?
Nahi, apna King's Landing and all of this is there, na?
New Zealand?
Scotland.
No, bro. This series on HBO. Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So before Game of Thrones.
I see. I see.
So I traveled.
Can't believe I can't remember that.
Yeah, same. So before Game of Thrones, I traveled a lot to Dubrovnik. And it actually takes you back in time. You know, countries like Dubrovnik, countries like, Croatia, countries like Estonia, they take you back in time. Countries like Norway, Sweden, they make you believe that, oh my God, this world is so untapped.
So beautiful.
So beautiful.
Oh my God.
You know, while I was in the ship, I had the privilege of crossing the Arctic Circle, going over Greenland, okay, and going to the northernmost human settlement on planet Earth.
Wow.
Yeah, the northernmost tip of of human settlement of planet Earth.
And there are people living there?
And there are only 32 people living there.
Wow.
Only 32 people living there. And it was amazing. It was just out of this world. So it makes you a lot more humble.
Yeah.
It makes you believe. I came back to the ship. I almost cried that day because, you're like, I used to crib, when I was on the ship. Yeah, itna chota sa room hai. The bathrooms are so small. You can't even stand. You can't even shower. And when I went across the Arctic, it was just an eye opener. People are still living here. There were just 32 people. Not kidding you. People are still living there. So when you say, did it shape you? It shaped me in a big way.
Shapes you in a big way.
It shaped me in a very, very big way. That wow, this world is full of wonders. And we sit over here, we think that, oh my God, I know everything.
Yeah, that's my problems and everything.
My problem is everything.
World revolves around me.
Bas mujhe sab pata hai. Ghanta kuch nahi pata hai. There's so much to learn. There's so much to know more. I mean, you know things, of course, but there's so much to know more.
But yeah, that was really, I mean, when you think about it, like how much of other people's and like how their living conditions and everything are, it kind of makes you think in a certain sense. Also increases your creative juices too, that maybe I can someday capture something that puts more meaning to this.
Yeah.
What am I seeing right here? Thinking of that, I saw that you have a long list of companies that you did before the weddings by Shooting Star. And I saw that you were an independent business owner at the first that you started in 2009. And then in 2017, you were a freelance photographer for Real Page as well. Then also for Life Touch National School Studios. Can you walk us through like what that whole journey, professional career-wise, and what made you decide that, okay, it's now my time to move on to something next? What was that?
Just to tweak your research a little bit over here, okay?
Yeah.
So in 2009, I opened my own company, which was Picturesque Photographic Works.
Oh,
okay?
I see.
That's because anything that is picturesque is what I wanted to capture.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I changed the name because people back in India could not even pronounce the name.
Yeah, I know.
Right? And I changed the name to Shooting Stars.
Ah.
But
so it was there from the very beginning.
It was there from the very beginning.
Oh.
Right? Shooting Stars has been there from the very beginning. But when I moved to this country, I did not want to think that, hey, I'm a business owner for the past 7-8 years, and I have done so much of good work back in India that I can just come over here and start on my own.
Yeah.
I would say that's a very naive approach.
Yeah.
And for me, person who's hungry to learn more, I wanted to see what the people over here want. What is my clientele?
Research the market first.
To research the market. So that's when you see Life Touch and you see Real Page. And I did 2 other jobs over here. I worked with a wedding photographer called Ajit Singh Photography.
I see.
I assisted him. And this is back in 2016. It's in 2016, And I went, so I basically rewound the whole process
that you were doing back
in India. I learned everything from scratch, ground zero. And then in 2017, 2018, I opened Shooting Stars over here.
Shooting Stars over here. But the process was there from 2009.
Yeah, there's only one way to learn and to strengthen your basics and to escalate from there. So that had to be done over here again. You had to unlearn and relearn.
Yeah.
And any good mentor you pick, they will all say the same thing. There's no shortcuts to hard work, right? And you always have to unlearn and relearn. I just did the same thing.
Just unlearn and relearn.
That's it.
That's the secret, basically. Also, so we have something fun prepared for us, just as an ending round, in a sense. So the thing that we do is like a rapid fire thing, like a rapid fire Q&A. So what I'm going to do is ask you just not overthink about it. Just whatever that comes into your mind, just answer it. Like it could be one word, a little short sentence as well. All right. Are you ready for that?
And this is my hamper?
This is your hamper.
This is my hamper. Okay, yeah.
Today's sponsor is our Loca Tequila, which is the word derives from both of the language, which is half Indian language and the other half is the Mexican. The word Loka, Loka, is actually derived from our Sanskrit language, which means the world. And of course, the loca in Spanish means, a little bit crazy. So that's where this tequila is from, mixture of making the world more crazier. But drink responsibly and enjoy, guys. So here comes the rapid fire round. Are you ready, Deepesh?
Ready.
All right. So the worst photography trend ever.
Wow. Okay. This is tough. Okay. Worst photography trend ever. Blurry photos.
One thing your camera would say if it could talk.
Damn, you're good, man.
These are good ones. I mean, like my team came up with this.
Yeah.
Good job, guys. What do you think about that? Like if your camera can talk just for one day.
I said, damn, you're good.
You're good.
That's what my camera would say to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought like you were saying, oh my God, I thought you were saying to me.
No, that was a compliment to myself, bro.
Deepesh is good. Weddings or landscape, if you could only pick just one forever.
Why pick just one? I would say I would still do weddings, but landscapes I would enjoy more. Soak it in. Weddings, capture it.
Both. So you want both.
I want both. I would want to soak the landscapes in while I'm at a landscape place, a picturesque place, or just kind of enjoying the view. I would want to enjoy the view more. When I'm at a wedding, I would want to capture more because that may not happen again.
Yeah.
That sunset at that landscape can happen again.
Yeah, that's true.
Weddings
Weddings
over landscapes.
Over landscapes. Who's harder to deal with, a grumpy groom or a hyper kid during school parties?
Hyper kid, definitely.
Yeah, school portrait, sorry.
Hyper kid.
Hyper kid?
Hyper
always?
kid, yeah. I did school portraits for Life Touch. And that's where I learned a lot of my patience.
Oh, I see.
So
kids are always...
A lot of bride and groom tell me that I'm very patient on the weddings. And that came from Life Touch.
That's
because I shot so many school kid portraits there.
I see. So what's your go-to food after a crazy long shoot?
Go-to food.
Go-to food. Like the comfort food. Like, today was a very hard,
Dal
tiring day. Oh my God.
That's it.
We have to high five on that.
Dal and chawal, dude. Nothing else, yeah.
What's the strangest superstition or belief you have come across at a wedding?
Superstition at a wedding.
Yeah. Like something which is very crazy or strange.
Done by them or done by me?
Done by them.
Done by them. Superstition at a wedding. I think, no. I mean, in America, they're very practical.
They're very practical.
Very, very practical. Back in India, there are a lot of superstitions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Over here, weddings are supremely practical. They are cutthroat. They're demanding. They just want the best of the best. So I don't think there's any room for superstition over here. But back in India, there are plenty.
There are plenty, right?
Yeah.
Any encounter you might remember that, like, what the hell is going on here?
I mean, I've seen a groom wearing just red underwears.
What?
Yeah. And, there would be a slight hint of any kind of red showing in all his outfits. Yeah, even in the tuxedo. So they had the red bow. It's just something that he believes in. I don't negate that.
Yeah.
But it's a wild superstition. Yeah.
All right, moving on to the next one. If you could only keep one lens for the rest of your life, which one would you pick?
51.2.
I totally agree with that point.
Yeah, beautiful lens.
So with that,
I think it's a cheat
like
code.
it's a very good cheat code kind of a lens.
Cheat code, yeah.
Prime or like
Prime.
Yes. Prime. That was amazing answers, Deepesh. It was really like inspiring journey that we have actually all of us kind of witnessed here. Like, especially the hard work that we put in. Now we kind of feel a little bit inspired that we can also make something work.
Everybody can. I feel everybody should. Imagine this: if Sachin Tendulkar ended up like Vinod Kambli, nobody would like it, right?
Nobody would have liked it.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. So you should realize your potential, and you should not shy away from working hard.
That's the message for all you young guys out there. So, Deepesh, in 2010, I came across this article about CNBC. You did a feature over there. How was that experience like? Because CNBC is like a very mainstream news channel, and how did that impacted your career going forward?
That was like 14 years ago, man.
14
I
years
almost
ago.
forgot about it. So that's actually excellent. I should put that on my website. I got featured in CNBC 14 years ago. Wow. I mean, I completely forgot about it, honestly, but it was a great experience.
Yeah.
It was a very, very good experience. And I think I was on a career high that time. Just came back from London, set up my company, got interviewed by CNBC, Midday, Hindustan Times, and it was phenomenal. But at that time also, there was a big learning curve that I was going through, and whatever knowledge I had was theoretical. All the philosophical talks that I give is because from my master's degree in photography. So they actually taught me how to look through a photo, and that's what CNBC was all about. Actually, I told them, I basically spoke about how I read pictures, how I would read a scenario and try and transpire that, or try and weave that into a visual form, if that makes sense. And yeah, that's how CNBC was. It was great. Thank you for bringing that memory now.
Also, I have another memory about you. I'm not sure if it's like, very good one or embarrassing one. The wasabi experience.
Damn, dude. Okay.
We did our research. How was that experience like, the whole wasabi? I do know that because of some Japanese culture, what they do is like, there is a whole bowl of wasabi, like the whole bowl of actually takoyaki, and then there is one wasabi into that. And that is very spicy. So what was that experience?
It was a challenge. So I can handle spicy food, right? And I can handle some really spicy food. So at that time, me and my friend, we were in Thailand.
Yeah.
And she actually challenged me that you cannot eat a spoonful of wasabi. And I was in there to kind of impress the person. So I was like, "Arey, ye to ho jayega."
Ye to ho jayega.
Yeah. And I did it. And ho gaya. But jal gaya sab kuch, but ho gaya. We did it, yeah.
So it was like very, very spicy. How do you rate it in Indian spices?
I mean, it's not spicy as in tikha spicy.
Achha.
It's fuming inside. It's
God.
not. Yeah, it is. It's a different kind of spice. It won't burn your tongue, but it would kind of numb your senses inside, and it's great. Taste-wise, it's amazing. With sushi, wasabi is like the go-to, but it has to be had in moderate, quantities. You can't have a spoonful of wasabi. Not at least at one go.
So speaking about wasabi, we have another sponsor with us, which is the Suma Foods. They make the fresh snacks and sweets, freshly made, authentic material from New Jersey. They are now available throughout the whole United States itself. You might be very familiar too. They produce sweets and snack, which are now widely available throughout the US. They use fresh materials and authentic ingredients, which we kind of are used to, having to see in India as well. So this is something really special, and I want Deepesh to try it as well.
Absolutely.
So why don't you go ahead and dig into this chakli, and I'll try it with you as well.
Yeah, let's do the chakli.
Let's do the chakli.
Life has come full circle. Right?
Full circle. This is good. Very light and very balanced flavor in a sense.
There's no oil on your fingers as well.
Oops, I dropped it a little bit. But yeah, how do you like this one?
It's great.
We should try some chakna as well. We have the liquor, we have the chakna.
Yeah, maybe
Indian people will understand this. Finally, I would say, Deepesh bhai, I think we learned a lot throughout your experience, throughout all the journey that you have taken us upon in this small, short podcast that we tried to put in for you. And I hope a lot of people around the world who are seeing this can also get inspired by it too. Lastly, we would just wanted to, before we part ways with you again, we wanted to give you a small hamper, which is also sponsored by the Suma Foods as well. So let me get that from the team. This is some sweets, some snacks.
Thank you.
From Suma Foods. Sorry, sponsoring. Here you go, guys. Don't hate me, Suma Foods. So here it is.
Thank you so much.
For you.
Thank you.
And we wish you all the best on in coming 5 days. I can see myself seeing a lot of awards under your name for the photography that you do.
I hope it happens in 5 days, but maybe 5 years.
5 years is a really good time in which you will be having the map in the world. No, I'm just kidding in that sense. As soon as possible. Thank you so much.
Hopefully.
It was really a pleasure.
Pleasure was all mine. Thank you so much, guys. And thanks for having me over. This was an honor. Thank you.